Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into the world of Elon Musk.
Sounds exciting.
It is. We're going way beyond, like, the chief twit headlines,
Right.
Trying to understand the man behind all these missions. And we've got, well, kind of a mix of sources for this one.
Ooh.
Yeah. We've got his Wikipedia page, but also some excerpts from that new Walter Isaacson biography.
Oh, wow. So we'll get like the broad strokes, A and D, some of those, juicy details.
Exactly. That's the plan. So you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Now, most people, when they hear Elon Musk, they probably think billionaire.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And they picture like the silver spoon upbringing, all that.
Makes sense.
But Musk's description of his childhood in South Africa, it's pretty different.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, his family was well off, but he's described it as anything but idyllic. In fact, there's this one school he went to, he actually compared it to Lord of the Flies.
Wow. That's intense.
It is. And then, you throw in the divorce, his difficult relationship with his dad.
Hey, right.
You start to see how all that early, environment might have shaped him.
Definitely. Almost like a crucible,
Yeah. Forging that resilience, that drive to prove himself.
And maybe that's where we see that entrepreneurial spirit sort of emerging. I mean, remember, we're talking about a kid who taught himself to program at 10 years old.
I know. And sold his first video game at 12.
Crazy.
It was wild. But I think those early experiences, they could have led him down a very different path.
Oh, absolutely.
But instead, you see this intense curiosity, this drive to push boundaries.
Yeah. And this is where I think his love of science fiction comes in. Tolkien Foundation series, Asimov.
Right.
It wasn't just like escapism for him.
No.
It was almost like he saw those grand visions, those challenges, and thought, why not? Why can't we do this?
And that kind of leads us to, well, a key concept from the Isaacson book, this idea of first principles thinking.
Yes.
Can you break that down for us a little? What does that actually mean?
Sure. So first principles thinking, it's about stripping away all the assumptions, right?
Okay.
And really boiling things down to those fundamental truths. Like, instead of saying, this is how it's always been done, Musk is like, okay, but what are the actual laws of physics at play here? What are the underlying principles?
Right.
And by starting from scratch, from that foundation, he's able to come up with these solutions that other people, maybe they miss because they're so stuck in the conventional way of thinking.
Right. It's like that story about him questioning the cost of rocket materials.
Exactly.
He's not just accepting the industry standard.
Yeah.
He's like, whoa, what are the raw materials? What's the supply chain? Can we do this cheaper?
Yeah. And he realized there was this massive potential for cost reduction. That's first principles in action.
It is. But you could argue that kind of approach, it's a double-edged sword, right?
Oh, for sure.
Leads to amazing innovation, but also maybe some of those, controversial decisions.
Absolutely. It allows them to see opportunity where others see obstacles, but it can also lead to, some clashes with the way things are supposed to be done.
Right. So to understand how this all plays out, I think we need to go back
Okay.
back to his journey from South Africa to Silicon Valley.
Makes sense.
And I think the place to start there is his education, early career in the U.S.
All right. Well, for one thing, he's got that solid academic background, degrees in physics and economics from UPenn. This isn't just, some tech bro who dropped out of college.
Right.
But then there's that almost mythical story. 2 days at Stanford, drops out to start his first company.
2 days.
Zip2. That's crazy.
It's incredible. And, there's actually a footnote on his Wikipedia page about his immigration status. At that time, it was a little bit, let's just say a gray area.
Wow.
Talk about taking a risk.
Yeah.
But that seems to be a pattern with him, doesn't it?
It does.
Leaping into the unknown.
Yeah.
Betting on himself.
And in this case, that bet paid off.
Yeah. Zip2, it was essentially like an online city guide.
Right. A very early version of like what Google Maps is now.
Exactly.
Him and his brother Kimball, they're coding all night, classic startup grind. In 1999, they sell it to Compaq. $307 million.
Not bad for a first exit.
No, not bad at all.
But of course, Elon being Elon, he doesn't retire to a beach somewhere, right? Jumps right back in.
X.com.
This early online banking platform, even the name.
It's like he's already thinking bigger.
Yeah.
X.com.
It's like this ambition to go beyond the familiar.
Exactly. To create something totally new, redefine what finance even means. And then comes the merger with Confinity, which eventually becomes PayPal.
Right. And he was actually ousted as CEO during that whole process.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Wow. But even that setback ended up shaping the tech world.
Oh, absolutely, because it led to this, the PayPal mafia.
Right.
All these incredible people who went on to found, LinkedIn, YouTube, Palantir. It's
crazy. So even when he's not at the helm, his influence is still there.
Yeah.
And that brings us to, I think, a truly pivotal moment. He takes $100 million of his PayPal earnings and announces, I'm starting a space company. In 2002.
Wow.
When space exploration was, pretty much entirely government run.
Yeah.
SpaceX is born.
That move right there, it sums up Elon Musk.
It does.
It's audacious, it's ambitious, it's borderline crazy. But it wasn't just about, launching satellites. He had this vision for usable rockets, making space travel accessible, and ultimately colonizing Mars.
But those early days, it was rough, right?
Oh, yeah.
3 failed Falcon 1 launches. His bank account is dwindling. Reports say he was close to bankruptcy. What had kept him going?
It was a few things, I think. Firstly, those first principles. He just refused to accept the limitations that everyone else was, working with.
Right.
But also just that sheer persistence, this unwillingness to give up on the vision, and then, well, let's be honest, a little bit of luck.
Right, because they managed to secure those NASA contracts.
Yes.
Which provided, much needed funding and credibility.
Name changer.
Huge.
Allowed SpaceX to not only survive, but to actually thrive. And that's when things really start to take off. Dragon docking with the ISS, Falcon 9 landings. Suddenly, reusable rockets aren't science fiction anymore.
And then that image, the Falcon Heavy launch carrying his Tesla Roadster.
It was brilliant.
Masterclass in showmanship.
Totally. But it also sent this message like, SpaceX is a force to be reckoned with.
And now we have Starship. This, massive spacecraft designed for deep space travel.
Mars is in sight.
It's mind-blowing.
I'm almost bankrupt to revolutionizing space travel.
Yeah. It's almost unbelievable.
It is.
But then there's Tesla.
Right.
Another venture born out of, pure conviction.
Pure conviction. You got to remember, back then, electric vehicles, they were kind of a joke, right?
Right.
Impractical, niche, not exactly cool.
No. And Tesla's going up against, giants.
Oh, yeah. GM, Toyota.
Decades of experience.
Massive manufacturing power.
And, by the way, 2008 financial crisis.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Not exactly the ideal time to, launch a capital-intensive startup.
Is it ever? But somehow Musk not only keeps Tesla afloat, he turns it into...
I know.
The leading electric vehicle manufacturer in the world. It's crazy.
It's a wild story. And again, you see that first principles thinking.
Always.
Right.
Always.
I remember when that first Roadster came out.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just an electric car. It was a sports car.
It was a statement.
Heads were turned.
It challenged the whole perception.
Right.
Of what an electric vehicle could be.
Exactly. It wasn't just about, saving the planet. It was cool.
Yeah. Desirable, high performance, stylish, tech.
And he built this whole ecosystem around it.
Right.
Supercharger network. The focus on those software updates.
Totally.
That direct-to-consumer sales model.
Yeah.
Shook up the whole dealership system.
He's playing a different game.
Completely.
Yeah.
And then there's Solar City, right?
Yeah.
Founded by his cousins, merges with Tesla. This whole vision of a sustainable energy future.
Connecting the dots.
It's like he's building this interconnected world.
It is. Electric cars, solar panels, battery storage, all working together.
But then you look at some of these other ventures and you kind of wonder,
yeah,
is this focus or is this distraction?
Right. The Boring Company. Tunnels under cities.
Hyperloop.
Still feels like sci-fi.
And then the music.
Oh, don't forget the music.
The rap song about Harambe the gorilla.
The classic.
The EDM track. I'm like, wait, is he serious?
You never know with Elon. Is it a side project? Is it a master plan? Who knows?
But one thing's for sure. He does not shy away from a challenge, no matter how outlandish.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to something that's become, much more prominent and definitely more controversial.
Yeah.
His politics.
Right. And gotta be clear here, we are not taking sides.
Not at all.
Just trying to understand, the landscape.
Exactly. He's been described as
libertarian,
conservative,
It's hard to pin him down.
But that makes sense, right? With that first principles approach.
Totally. He's not bound by those traditional ideologies. He's looking at things from his own perspective.
And that leads to some strong opinions.
Right.
On things like COVID lockdowns, vaccination policies.
And the role of government in general.
He's not afraid to, voice his dissent, even when it goes against the grain.
And with a platform that big.
Millions hanging on his every tweet.
That dissent can have real-world consequences.
That's a lot of power.
It is. It sparks a lot of debate about responsibility, about influence. It's complicated.
Definitely. And I think it reminds us, even with all this talk of innovation, technology, we're still dealing with human issues.
Right.
Complex challenges.
And speaking of complex, I think we got to talk about Musk's personal life.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, let's just say, as unconventional as his business ventures.
Multiple marriages, big family, very public relationships. It's a lot.
It is. The sources paint this picture of a man who's just intensely driven in every aspect of his life. And sometimes that drive, it comes at a cost.
Right. 12 children from various relationships, including, a son who tragically passed away as an infant.
And then there's the relationship with Grimes, the musician.
2 kids together.
Ex-HE and ex-Dark Cedar Musk.
Those names.
Definitely sparks some conversation.
A lot of conversation.
Playful, individualistic, or maybe just impractical.
And the relationship itself, very on again, off again, ongoing custody battle, even reports of tension with Grimes' mother. It's messy.
It's a lot. And then there's the sensitive topic of his transgender daughter, Vivian.
Right.
Who's chosen to distance herself, legally changed her name, uses her mother's surname.
And Musk's comments about gender-affirming care, they haven't exactly been well received.
No.
Especially from the LGBTQ plus community.
It's clear there's pain there. Disconnect.
It's a reminder that behind the public persona, the geniuses label,
there are real human relationships.
Messy, complicated, sometimes heartbreaking.
And it seems the higher Musk climbs, the more scrutiny he faces. And unfortunately, that sometimes spills over into, legal and ethical challenges.
Right. And we see this in the sources, too. That subpoena from the U.S. Virgin Islands relating to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Now, important to clarify, Musk himself is not accused of any wrongdoing. It's more about his connection to J.P. Morgan Chase. Which is being sued for allegedly, facilitating Epstein's operation.
Right. But then there's that defamation lawsuit filed against Musk by Ben Brody.
Oh, yeah.
That one's interesting. Brody claims that Musk falsely identified him as a neo-Nazi, leading to online harassment, threats, and Musk's defense. Well, let's just say it's been revealing.
In his deposition, he admitted to not even doing any research.
Before making the accusation.
And then tried to prevent the deposition from becoming public.
Not exactly a good look.
Not great, especially for someone who, claims to be a champion of free speech.
Right. And then there's the whole SEC investigation.
Into the Twitter acquisition.
Musk has reportedly refused to testify.
Claims the SEC is harassing him.
It's a power struggle.
Between a regulatory body and
one of the most influential figures in tech.
Huge questions about accountability, transparency.
Especially in the world of social media.
And it's not just the SEC. His compensation package at Tesla just got voided by a judge.
Called it unreasonably excessive.
Could have big implications for Tesla and its shareholders.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, he's facing multiple lawsuits from former Twitter employees. Unpaid severance, breach of contract.
It
seems like every time he pushes a boundary,
there's another challenge waiting.
Another legal or ethical battle.
It's almost as if that same drive that pushes him to achieve these incredible things it also leads him into these conflicts. So where does that leave us? I mean, we started this deep dive trying to understand Elon Musk, the man, the motivations, the impact.
Right. His childhood, his ventures, his politics, his personal life.
I mean, where do we land?
I mean, honestly, I feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
Right.
He's such a complex figure. Like, on the one hand, he's this visionary.
Totally.
Pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But then on the other hand, he's a provocateur.
And sometimes it feels like his actions, his opinions, they're almost at odds with basic human empathy.
Right. Like, he wants to save humanity by colonizing Mars, but then some of the things he says, the things he does, they create so much division here on Earth.
It's true. It's like he's this bundle of contradictions.
He is, like, advocating for free speech, but then suing people who criticize him.
Pushing the boundaries of technology, but struggling with, basic human relationships.
It's a lot to process.
It is. And honestly, I'm left with more questions than answers. Like, is he ultimately a force for good? Or is he, I don't know, a danger to society?
I think that's the thing with figures like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
They resist easy categorization.
They do.
He makes us confront our own assumptions, our own values. And I think whether you admire him or you fear him or you're somewhere in between, there's no denying his impact.
No, absolutely not. He's shaping the future. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway from all of this. We can't just dismiss him.
Right.
We can't just blindly worship him either. We have to engage with his ideas, his actions, his controversies, but we have to do it critically.
I think that's a good point, like informed skepticism.
Yes.
Question everything.
Don't just accept what you hear, even from someone like Elon Musk. Dig deeper.
Form your own conclusion.
That's how we navigate this world, this crazy, complex world.
Well said. So, wrapping up our deep dive into the world of Elon Musk, I think it's safe to say this story is far from over.
Oh, yeah.
From that, unconventional childhood in South Africa to revolutionizing space travel to, energy to those headline-grabbing tweets to that very complicated personal life. It's been quite a journey.
It really has.
And I think we've learned that there's always more to explore, more to debate.
Always.
So on that note, we'll leave you with this. Elon Musk says he wants to save humanity.
Right.
But with everything we've discussed, with all these controversial actions, these opinions, is he helping or is he hindering that goal?
It's a big question.
What do you think?
Yeah.
That's something to ponder as we continue to watch this Elon Musk saga unfold.
This is a saga.
Until next time, keep diving deep.